There we all right.
Hello. How are you, Brian?
There are buttons that have to be pushed.
Oh,
I am, and I do not intend to push your buttons. I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I just got back from the surgeon's office scheduling back surgery for the end of July, and I don't want to die with a perfect spine. They don't have to put in all kinds of hardware so that it looks perfect. I just want to get rid of the pain,
mm,
that I have in my legs. And there are pinched nerves, so they'll be able to go in and do that. And then when I finish, recovering, Ray's having his knee surgery. So, I want to be up and around and
right.
able to take care of it. So, um, but, and you just went to the beach,
I just went to the beach. We had 4 days, I think, almost 5 days, maybe,
right?
at the beach. It was wonderful, but it was also
Yeah.
wonderful to come home.
You were ready to come home?
We were ready to come home and the first time we took a vacation together and went to this beach, we were there for 3 days. And on the third day, we're like, oh, could really do with another day, and sort of left the beach wanting more of the beach. So we extended
Uh-huh.
it this time for that extra day. And on that
Yeah.
extra day, we're like, this is good. We're now ready to go home. And we were almost like, it's time to go home. Like, I want to go home.
Uh-huh.
It's a
When you say that,
wonderful
when you say that, Haley, I'm ready to go home. What's home for you?
home is this house,
Yeah.
the house that we're in right now in San Cristobal, and the home that we have created. And it's a wonderful acknowledgement to have the experience of going on vacation and dreading going home because you're going back into the same grindstone and you're needing vacations rather than
Uh-huh.
taking them because you want to. And it was a lovely sort of recognition of I actually want to go home because I love my home. I love the world I've created at home. And
Uh-huh.
the idea that I don't need to take a vacation from my life. I take a vacation because I enjoy the place. Doesn't that make
Uh-huh. Yeah, but you said what we've built, the dude has moved in?
Oh, this is actually his house.
Oh, it's his house. You moved into his place.
I moved in.
Yeah. I hope you took those colorful beads with you that you had
No,
behind.
there we do have the colorful beads in the bedroom, but now we have this colorful
Pretty. Yeah.
ribbon display, which is traditional Chiapas thing.
That's
So
great. I'm really happy for you
thank
uh, that
you.
that you've met somebody that you feel comfortable enough with that you want to share home with. That's a big deal. I mean, that's
It's
huge.
it's a huge deal, and it's a huge deal to go on vacation with someone that you enjoy being on vacation with them.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
realize this sounds nuts, but I also come from a place where I totally understand that going on vacation with somebody sometimes is just like, listen, we're on vacation together. You're over there, I'm over here. We'll talk at dinner.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a
Yeah.
wonderful realization to be at ease with life and be at ease with the people that are in my life because they bring value to my life. And it's a kind of value that's very peaceful and very endearing.
Yeah, and it's really important to maintain boundaries there, that you don't invite people into your life
Oof.
who not only vex you, but vex those you love around
Mhm.
you, saying, "Why did you invite them here? You know, can you get rid of them? I mean, this is really bad juju. This is." uh,
And
but
I think it's the same. I don't know if you do this with your house, but I have that same awareness of the house. Like, only certain people get invited into my house.
yeah, yeah. And if I make the mistake once, I won't make it
Oh,
again.
no,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
there's no
Sometimes,
re-invite if you make a mess.
yeah, sometimes people sneak in or get in or are invited in, and you think, no, this is not a good match.
No.
It's too uncomfortable. And so, since COVID, Haley, and since downsizing, I've talked about this before. We've cut way back on socializing. We used to have dinner parties, and I don't miss them at all.
No.
you know, I miss some of the people, but they're not inviting us over either. So It's not like, we're the, the difficult ones in this situation. So,
But I
but
think
home, what is home?
that's also showing you that they're also enjoying their time more alone, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I
and I'm
feel
glad
like,
for that.
for many of my people that came out of COVID, we came out with a much higher sense of alone time and a much higher value on alone time and being okay with more alone time. And it's the only people
Yeah,
that have sort of gone back into that same social energy before that they had before COVID are the people that are going through really tough things in life right now.
uh-huh, yeah. I sort of retirement from speaking and COVID and downsizing all happened at the same time.
Mm.
So but it created for me a very comfortable space. Going back to the subject of home, a couple friends are getting married this next Saturday, this Saturday, and it's an extraordinary wedding. The details to it are amazing, and they sent to every person that received an invitation, whether you can come or not, they sent with a self-addressed stamped envelope, two pieces of paper with leaves on them. And one said wishes and the other said advice. And you were to write on each of them what advice you have for them as a couple. And all of these were going to be hung on two trees in the middle of the church. So all of these,
Oh,
wishes.
wow.
Yeah, really cool, huh? So
Super cool.
one of the things that I said in terms of I don't know whether it was wishes or wisdom, but be polite to each other. And people might say, "What? What does that have
Mm,
to do with having a nice home?" I'll tell you. Ray
a
and I,
lot.
48 years together, we say please and thank you all day long. Everything is please and thank you. Um, Honey, would you like a glass of water? Yes, please. Oh, thank you. And it,
It's
for some reason, it just makes everything smooth, right?
I think it's never forgetting the privilege that you have of another person living with you and being with you. And I noticed that just the same as I was saying, like going on vacation with somebody, it's different when you actually enjoy them and have a good vacation with them. I think it's different when you're living with them and the please and thank you are really important because I can, like, when I'm saying please and thank you, and I'm like, this is amazing. I love that. That's our love language. I can also remember relationships where we let that go and
Mm,
how difficult and like just blah that relationship was, and obviously ended for the right reasons. But it's a vast difference. And again, to be in that space of this is the home I'm creating where please and thank you mean everything, whether you're a visitor or whether you live here.
yeah, yeah. Without them, I think you can feel taken advantage of or put upon.
I
And
think it
with them,
builds resentment.
yeah, yeah.
And resentment
Like,
is a very poisonous plant.
yeah. The other words that I suggest to be a really important part of your household language is "I'm sorry." I
Mm,
apologize. Um, that was all me. I did that. Uh, Thank you for helping me clean up the mess. I
thank you
threw
for
the
being
ball.
patient.
Yeah, I threw the ball to the dog. He's constantly wanting me to throw the ball to him, and we wrestle over it. He loves that. But I threw it to him, and it hit a plant, and the plant fell. And this pot that we've had forever, that a friend gave us, a ceramic pot, broke. And I thought, well, you know what? First of all, it's a mess right now, and I'm tired. My leg hurts, and I wish I didn't have to clean this up. But funny enough, Hayley, I was able to let go of the pot, even though I loved it. Um, Understanding that, going back to the theme of home, it doesn't rely on certain pieces in order to be home.
Mm,
There are pieces that make you feel at home because you've had them so long that you like them. But if they break, you know, they break. I'm
time.
76. At some point, all the stuff in this house is going to be owned by somebody else, right?
And
So,
things are going to break when it's time for new.
and Ray never, ever makes me feel guilty about it.
Isn't that a
He
lovely
says,
feeling too?
never, never says, well, how could you do that? Why would you do that? That
Or
was
like,
really stupid.
yeah,
Well, I don't get any
now
of
look
that.
what you've done.
Yeah, well, the first partner that I had, who was an Episcopal priest, I was helping in the kitchen. I cut the cabbage and he threw the pieces on the floor and said, "You cut it the wrong way and you've ruined it." And I thought, how do I respond to that? I mean, I was 15 years younger, but I didn't feel safe in that house.
Mm-mm.
Not that I felt that I was going to get beaten up, but emotionally, I didn't feel like I was an
Right.
equal. And you have to feel like you're an equal, in a house. You can't have it be, it's my house and I make more money than you do, and you're lucky that you're living here.
Right.
That's dead on arrival, right?
And I think it's that, what makes a good house, and obviously I'm saying this from a place of feeling very safe and feeling like I'm in a very good home. Safety is key. And the safety comes from the please and the thank yous, the patience. And then to be able to say thank you for your patience, or thank you for helping me, and thank you for not yelling at me because I did a stupid thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or I did something that one might think is stupid, but I could argue that, hey, the dog needed a
Great.
ball from me. I was making dinner, and
It
so
makes a wonderful difference to feel safe and consistently safe. Like, no matter what happens, it's a place of that unconditional love.
yeah, physically safe and emotionally safe.
Mm-hmm.
And physically safe is cut and dry. You hit me once, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Emotionally safe, how are we sure that you're interpreting it the right way? And then but after a while, there's a pattern, and if you don't do something about it, you become one of the people in the book, Women Who Love Too Much. That you put up with it, and then now you've helped create this horror show.
Yeah.
You have to insist upon it. And if the person doesn't want to go there, then maybe you
They're
need
not
to
your
think about
person.
what's next.
It's there is that physical safety, there's the mental safety, and then there's the safety of what's around you too. And seeing like the four walls of the home or the fence of your home as sort of part of that contribution to your safety. And I think very often we forget that these things are physical, they're not human, so they don't mean as much. And it's, just like how we talk to our plants. I talk to the walls and I definitely touch a wall every time I come in and every time I go out. I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm back.
yeah, that's great. One of the things that and I wrote about this recently about beauty, and for some reason, I used to be the person who would come into the room and look around to see what was wrong, what picture needed to be straightened, what lampshade, whatever. And I don't do that anymore. I mean, I may notice it, but I don't need to change it, right? There's actually a light bulb in the painting in the bedroom. I should probably change that. No, sorry. But the point is that Ray said to me a couple of days ago, I really appreciate you pointing out the beauty, because he said, I look at things as to see what needs to be done. And, I wrote on my Facebook page that, when we die, we're not going to be thinking about how many gutters we wish that we had cleaned out.
Like, I
Please.
can't die just yet. One more gutter.
Yeah, one more gutter, please. And then I'll feel okay. No, we're thinking of the snapshots that we've taken in our life by being present to the moment.
Beauty.
Right? And so home, going back to the theme, is a collection of snapshots, right? I look around the garden and I can look at it quickly to see, oh, what I need over there. There's a bush that I should plant there. Or I can look around and say, oh my God,
Oh
I'm
my
losing
God.
my breath. It's so
This
beautiful.
is my
And you know what?
home.
It is my home, and I planted it. It's not that I
Wonderful.
wandered in and somebody else did it before me. I planted all of this stuff. I created it.
I
And
think that's a wonderful point that you're making because, there's the law of attraction and the positive thinking. And there's this idea that you live the life you create, or you have the freedom to create the life you want. I feel in my experience as a human and in this lifetime, I have created now the home that I've always wanted.
Have you?
Yeah. And I
Oh,
think it
that's
sounds
good.
like you're there too, where you can just look around and be like, I created this. I
Yeah.
did what I needed to do to be present and like sit patiently, be like, a plant needs to go there and it has to be this color, this type of plant. Boom, it's there, fantastic. Or
Yeah.
I need this behind me.
Right. And I think it changes by age, in terms of um,
Absolutely.
what what's important and what's not, right? And one could be married to or partnered with somebody who was different than you about these issues, and then you have to sort of let go and back off and let them see the world they want to see the way they want to see it,
Yeah.
but you don't change to see it their way unless it's for the health of the relationship. That's the other thing. Another thing I put on those leaves that they're hanging is that you've got to prioritize the relationship. If you
Yeah.
don't prioritize it, if you prioritize your biological family over this, then it's not going to last. You can't
I
you
th-
can't go in separate directions on the holidays.
I think it's my way of looking at that is that prioritizing and dependency, codependency, different things. They're not the same thing
Yes.
because I know a lot of people, me including, I come from a place where I thought prioritizing meant codependency. And I now see that they're very different things. You can prioritize your relationship and make it the most important thing to you while still maintaining independent thought. And I think we have to sort of be able to have courage in that prioritizing versus codependency to be able to say, I'm not being codependent. I'm prioritizing because this person is important to me and the way that I feel with them is important to me.
Right. And I love the time we have.
Mm-hmm.
I don't tolerate the time we have. I love the time we have.
Yeah,
That doesn't mean that there aren't bumps in the road. There are always bumps in the road.
there's always bumps.
Even if we live by ourselves, there are bumps all over the place.
Always.
But for me, prioritizing is like saying, if mom and dad invited me home for Thanksgiving, I'd love to come, and Ray and I will be there without missing a beat. Because if
Mm-hmm.
we ever hear, "Oh, honey, why didn't you come alone this time?" And if you agree to that, then you're prioritizing your biological family relationship over your family of choice. And I wouldn't trust you in the future to pick me, over them if you're showing a pattern, of picking them over me.
I think it's, we were talking about this before we hit sort of record, which is you kind of, when you come from those places of not being ultimately clear on prioritizing codependency or I feel safe or this is what it's supposed to look like. I think we have to take those moments to be able to kind of look at, okay, if I do this, what is the next step here? What am I going to have to do to be able to either resolve or keep it going? And, I think that's important for many people, especially for me, to be able to be like, all right, I have this fear. If I allow myself to feed that fear, what is it going to mean for the relationship?
Uh-huh.
I think it goes the same way where it's like, I love spending time with this human and I love the home that we're building. What can I do to keep it going?
Mm-hmm. Without compromising yourself,
Right.
right? And sometimes the way you keep it going is by focusing on your personal growth
Mm-hmm.
and letting them see the role modeling you're doing about how happy you are. Boy, how did she get so happy? Well, she doesn't care about this or this or this or this. Well, I do. Well, do you have to care about those things? Well, if I don't, who's going to? Well, maybe you can do it together, because if you don't, you're going to get resentful, that she's having a good time and you're not, because you have to do all this tax work and all of this blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, one of the ways I compromise all the time here, Hayley, is that, our house is small. You've been here. It's 1,700 square feet, smallest thing we've ever lived in. But people send me videos a lot, to listen to. A lot of it comes on Facebook Messenger, things that they think will inspire me. A little kid singing on America's Got Talent, and wowing the audience, and you cry. So I don't open those in front of Ray unless he wants to see them, because the part of building home is understanding that peace comes from silence too, right? So that we're not playing competing YouTubes, in different rooms. We go to different rooms. Like right now, I'm in the guest bedroom office and Ray's out swimming with the dog. If he was inside, he'd be in another room reading or whatever. So we give each other that space, that private time. His AA meetings in the morning is an hour, and I'm, outside the room and do something different. But I don't do anything that will disturb his peace, right? So if he's reading a book and I'm sitting next to him, I'm not going to push play on a video that somebody has sent me without me knowing what it is in it,
Right.
and not wanting to pull his attention away from what he's enjoying.
Is that respect?
I think it is respect. I think some people will say, "Oh my God, you're missing out on all kinds of stuff because stuff I've sent you is really good." Well, I bet it is, but the feeling that I'm getting from prioritizing this relationship and the peace of the house, the harmony of the house, right, is giving me as good a feeling as your video would have given me, and more.
And
right?
more.
And more.
There's a lot to be said for harmony, the sweet sound of harmony.
There is. I don't think my mother was a peace at any price person, that she did not tolerate any squabbling, yelling, whatever. But when she died, or before she died, her oncologist told her that the reason she was dealing with cancer was because she had stuffed down so many things, like the death of 3 children, right? And holding it in here, not allowing it to be expressed. So we don't do peace at any price. If one of us is upset, the other one is aware of it, not by yelling, but just by pouting. And we all have our ways of pouting. But so, okay, what's going on? You don't seem like you're really happy right now.
Yeah.
So we talk it out, Well, when you said this morning, it hurt my feelings because I was trying to do this and you assumed this. And, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know that. I apologize.
And I think, within that harmony is that safe space, because I think in the respect of I allow you to have your peace because my peace is so important to me too, is how you deal with those moments of sensitivity. And that's something else that I've noticed in sort of my growing of relationships and being in this relationship versus other relationships is I don't use words, or I don't go to a place of, well, that's your problem, get over it.
Yeah.
There is no age issue there. If he is feeling upset or if I'm feeling upset, it's not about like, that's so childish, or you don't have the right to feel that way. It's immediate. Like, I can tell something's off. Let's sort it out. Doesn't matter what it is. Right. And I think that when I talk about knowing that the person is right for you and that the relationship is right for you, I think that's important to notice, that when you do have your moments of sensitivity, there's no judgment.
And you have to prioritize that moment.
Yeah.
You can't have a discussion while you're doing dishes.
Or you can't leave it for later at night when your heads hit the pillow and like, right, let's sort this out now.
Yeah. I pick my time in terms of when we're going to talk. But when I talk, I'm 100% there, saying, I'm not thinking about anything else. I'm with you. What's going on? And I think when the other person feels that you are there with open hand, not closed fist, right? that you really do want to understand, and you want them to understand how you felt or what you were doing or thinking at the time. And then you come to the point of saying, I'm sorry, that this happened, because I don't ever want you to feel that way. And I appreciate you acknowledging my feelings.
And it takes work.
It does take work,
I
but
think
it's worth it.
if anybody listening to the two of us talk and we're like, oh, you two are just on cloud nine having the best relationships, that's not real life. I bet the closet behind you is full of skeletons, which it probably is. But it does, it does take an enormous amount of effort and energy on my part, because I can feel myself triggered in these situations because of what I came through. And when there are those sensitivities, I can feel myself hold my breath, get crunched down and be like, this is going to be a fight. And I don't want to fight. So it takes an enormous amount of energy and effort on my part to be like, breathe, this is different. You are creating difference now. So I say that to say it's not just that you click with the other person and everything instantly becomes just easier. I think you're more motivated to change yourself or to change the way that you see things for the peace, for the harmony.
But you choose to do it.
You choose to do it. Like the motivation or the inspiration to do it and to stick with it, I feel like is much stronger. It's not just the other person and you clicking and you have a soulmate and suddenly everything's magic.
Right. And when you do this work, and it is work, and it's work often on a daily basis, when you do this prioritizing and sensitivity and thoughtfulness and graciousness, etc., you're not just keeping the boat going smoothly, but you're going to newer levels of love that you hadn't imagined you'd get to, right?
Absolutely.
Because when we sacrifice for love, that's another layer that's getting peeled away to get us into this. My God, this is amazing. It still is work. It's not like you get to the point of understanding and bliss and serenity, etc. It's so exciting for me to look at Ray after 48 years with fresh eyes all the time and think, you are really a remarkable guy, And I tell him that. I said, I used to think my grandfather was the wisest, most wonderful, best skilled at solving, mechanical problems, etc. But you're way better than he was. And of course, he loves that, to hear that. But you need to say it,
I think I agree with you. And my grandfather was incredibly important and probably the first experience of a gentleman where I was like, that's a man, it's 1 in a million, not going to happen again. And I see the similarities with my dude and I'm just like, wow, like this, just as much as when you have the resentment and you're in a place of, I'm just going to do this myself and I'm not going to look to rely on anybody else. When somebody comes in and shows you that it's possible that other people can be with you, it's important to tell them that I didn't think it was possible and you're changing my mind. Because I think that reflects the work that they're doing too. We all need to hear you're doing a good job. And I see you being a wonderful person. And I feel like just as much as I do my work and I try and make sure that my work is unconditional, you get the same version of me that the fruit man does. And again, when you're with people, not just your partner, but when you choose to be with people that harmonize your space, your home, your heart, you don't have to consciously make a point of being that person with everybody. It's natural. And I think maybe you see this in Ray too, where the way that he treats you is the same way that he treats other people. He treats other people well with kindness.
Yeah.
That's not something that you're like, oh, you're just doing that to kind of show me and like be on my good side. It's natural.
Right. You're exactly right. Spot on. that when I listened to Ray in the other room talk to a salesperson, a nurse at the doctor's office, people at the meeting, there's this wonderful laughter, graciousness. And there have been times that I've said, I want you to talk to me like you talk to those strangers. and he could get a little startled by that. But a lot of us who are the best little boy and the best little girl in the world, when we are with strangers, we treat them like they're gods and goddesses. In the grocery store, on the street, wherever, homeless people. But we got to remember to take that same treasuring back to our spouse, because otherwise you feel like you're taken for granted.
Yeah, and that's the resentment again, the seed.
Yeah. So you talk. And then also you get to the point, I think, Hayley, where you're confident enough in yourself that you don't need your qualities affirmed by the other. It's always nice to hear, but you know that you're a good person. You know that you're a kind person. And but you have to keep it up. One of the things I noticed in movies and TV series, that when a young couple comes together, they're all excited about being with the other person. They kiss on the lips, right? And the longer they're with them, it goes from the lips to the cheek to the forehead. Right? Bye, honey. Or pulling the head down and kissing. The lips are gone, And it's really interesting to watch that happen in a televised, version of what's going on, but in your own life too. That's why I think I told you that Ray told me that we're supposed to kiss for 6 seconds. And so we do it, now every single day, and we kiss 3-4 times a day. We hold that last kiss for 6 seconds and both think it's fun, but it's meaningful too, because we're taking the time to say, I'm with you, right?
And I think we share, it's so important to have heads together. And if you look at all of the traditions, many of the traditions that are around the world that still hold sort of the cultural traditions, they greet by bringing the head together. They're either bringing the head together or the head and the heart together. They're not doing that because that's just the way things are done. They're doing that because of the connection that is created, and sort of it's maintained for much longer once you separate. Like a hug. It's a hug that just lasts much longer than you have the intention of it. Because, in our head, we have sort of the third eye here. We have our brain here. We're so much more protective of our heads. When we allow a person to come towards us and hold space in our face, we're telling them, I trust you. I'm safe with you. You're creating an energy of safety, of that mutual respect, of I'm allowing you in the most protected space. You're allowing me. This is great. It's so important, I think, to realize that these things that we're talking about aren't just because it's cute and fun. Like there are actual physical, chemical things happening when you do that.
Yes. I mean, we in the US, we don't really do the head thing, but there's nothing wrong with doing it. But there has been a lot of encouragement to prolong your hug. Don't do the pat on the back thing, okay, 3 times, we're done. Like you barely got into the hug when you're being signaled it's time to go. I think a prolonged hug is very powerful. If you both just stand still and let go of whatever agenda you had, I got to get them a drink, they just got here. No, right now you're hugging them and you're holding them and you're letting them know that you feel them and see them and value them.
That has been one of the greatest lessons about being in Mexico, is the quality of connection and the quality of time that you're with somebody. It's incredibly difficult for me to hug and to be hugged. I'm a runner. if somebody looks like they're coming towards me to hug, suddenly I need the bathroom or I got to run. I'm a pat on the back. I'm like, that's 3, we're done. And you're there. And in Mexico, they hold the hug. It is a 2 kiss. It is a, where are you going? That's so important, that you're in such a rush that you can't hug. And it has been an incredibly uncomfortable experience for me to hold the hug, because people will realize that I'm a runner, and they will like think that I need more love, so just hold me in it. And I'm just like, please let me go.
You know, it's and it's interesting, and you've probably already done it, to trace back, you know, where is this coming from? This not wanting to be tied down, this resistance to being held in place. It's not about the hug at all.
It's not about the hug. It's
about your
for me,
freedom.
it's freedom and the entrapment.
And the fear of being trapped.
Yeah.
Right. And I think knowing that is great. And but I love the fact that are you hugging? I mean, are you doing it?
I mean, I'm hugging, but I'm still like, people that I see every day, I'm like, all right, you're a hugger. We're gonna hug this out. I'm fine. But it's still incredibly difficult with like people that I've never met before, and they want to have a hug. I'm just like, bye, bye.
Yeah.
And I think it's, you know, it's a work in progress, but also, you know, it's not something I laugh about and I smile about it, because it's one of the things about me that I think is endearing to me. It may not be endearing to the person that feels me running away from their hug, but to me it's endearing because I'm learning again. I'm learning how to sort of trust that the people coming towards me actually want to hug me for no other reason than I'm going to hug you. Rather than I'm hugging you because we're going to have a list of things we need from you.
Hayley, early in our relationship, it was much easier for me to hold Ray in bed than to be held by Ray. You know, because I was in charge when I was holding, right? But I was being held, right, when he was holding, and that created some anxiety. And I had to take a look at where, you know, that was coming from. And, you know, some of it went back to childhood abuse.
Absolutely.
And, you know, so, you know, we don't know why a person is reacting the way they are, but going back to our original topic of home is where you ought to be able to talk about it comfortably with somebody who cares. I mean, if you're a guy, he has a really good name. What's his name?
Hugo.
If Hugo listens to your story, it really helps him love and appreciate you more. One, because you're sharing your story with him. And I'm not saying you know the reason for this, but just, you know, I struggle with hugs. You know, he can say, wow, you know, I didn't know that. Let's, you know, with me? No, not with you.
Yeah. It's again, you know, creating that home and having a home that you feel safe in. And I find that in the creation of this home, we have a lot of similarities. So we're still different people. We come from completely different cultures and different lives beforehand, but we have a lot of similarities. So when we talk about sort of the trauma or the hardship of life that we've had before, our stories mingle. Does that make sense? They're not the same story, but they kind of be like, oh, well, that's interesting because something similar was me too.
Yep.
Very interesting how like we're very different, but we're very similar at the same time.
And the more time you spend together, the more your souls entwine, right?
Oh gosh, it's scary.
You know, it is. I mean, Hugo is here and Hayley is here, and you were separate, and then you came together, and then, but your spirit, your soul, which changes daily anyway, is now being influenced by this wind, by this gentle breeze, by this, you know, warm temperature, and it's growing
and
without you knowing. You know?
Without, I mean, I'm conscious and very aware of it, but I also understand that we both are very similar in the sense of what we want to feel. and how we want our home to be. So we're both building towards a similar goal.
Uh-huh.
So our souls are going to be very easily aligned and intertwined when it comes to those things, where we can finish each other's sentences and be like, this is what I was thinking. Oh, you're thinking the same thing too. Where it's just like,
Yeah.
oh, wow. We really possibly need to spend some time with other people because we're literally morphing into the same thought now. But I think it's, it's one of the wonderful things that to kind of go through this journey of learning about myself and trying to be the better version of myself without a belief system that possibly isn't mine. It's wonderful to be able to get to the space where you physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually experience the harmony of a safe home and safe people in your home.
Yes. And taking that further, I, as your friend, want you to feel safe in my home.
Mm-hmm.
And it's my responsibility now not to force a hug on you. And no, seriously,
Yeah.
I need to remember it's just as important that I remember that as it is that I remember you are allergic to dairy products and not to use them in the meal I prepare for you. And both of us have friends who have restrictions, and we try to remember all of them. But I think if you love and care for somebody and you want them to feel safe and valued in your home, you need to try to remember these things about.
I think the hugging thing for me is so odd and endearing because it's only certain people. Like in the beginning, it's everybody. I'm just like, let's shake hands, or 3 pats, we're good. But then I think once you have your circle of consistently good friends, you feel safe to be hugged. Does that make sense? So
yes.
you're actually now participating in the hug versus just trying your best to breathe through receiving.
Enduring.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that like Mexico has kind of been hugely integral in so many lessons of my life, but the hug lesson, Mexico has been one of those things where it's like, a hug is really good if you just relax and receive into it and participate. Going back to the privilege, a person is giving you a hug because they want to shed love. It's a privilege. Be in the same space as that privilege.
But I'd also say, Hayley, that you bring more to the hug than a person who hugs all the time, because you're bringing meaning to the hug. If you came to the door, I'd hug you, right? It's because what I do, and I show affection that way. But when you go into the hug, you've thought a lot about it.
Oh, I've thought about it.
Yeah. So the hug is more significant in some ways for you.
For me, it is. It's if you get a good hug from me, then I feel safe with you. And I'm not thinking about I need to run away or how quickly will this be over.
Yeah.
I relaxed into it.
And I want to know that about you. I want to know that the hug that I got at the door wasn't something that you were always comfortable with. Because those, we talked earlier about what are the beautiful things in your life. What are you going to remember when you die? Cleaning the gutter, or the snapshots that you have of your friends, of your dog, of your garden, of those moments in life when you were present. That, I need a snapshot of that. I need to remember, oh God, Hayley didn't like to hug, and she learned how to do it, right?
The difference between the first hug and the last hug. Wow.
Yeah, but that's a snapshot to remember.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were to have a heart attack today, and tomorrow people ask me, well, what do you remember about Hayley? She didn't like to be hugged, but she worked on it. So the little things that we learned about each other, besides, she's wonderful, wise, loving, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. These little quirky things that make us different and endearing.
And I think we get, people along the way teach us these lessons. They teach us how to hug again. They teach us how to be okay with saying, I love you. regardless
Yeah.
of if it's romantic or not. And I think, again, it's those people that we get to turn around and be like, you know that I say I love you because of you. You know that I now hug because of you.
Yeah. Yeah. And what an honor that is, right? What a gift that is to the person to know that's a legacy of
Yeah.
theirs, because you're passing it on to someone else, right? And people are learning, going back to the house thing, when people are in your home and they notice how they feel, right? They want to go home and have the same feeling.
Or they want to come back.
Right. But they maybe want to come back because that's their way of,
Yeah.
well, one is about feeling safe and loved. That's true. I think all of us have had an aunt, uncle, grandparent, whoever, who lived in a space that we felt safe in. And we want to duplicate those feelings. I know that's true for me. But I also want to, I want to repeat those feelings, but I want to duplicate them in my own space. So what does that entail? Like, that in our house, we light incense and candles, right? And we say these particular mantras, prayers in the morning. One could go home and do that and not get the same thing out of it. It has to be an authentic manifestation of you. Ray and I love the incense because we're both altar boys. And,
But
incense
also
and
it's part of your home now, is that's
it is.
your home.
Yep.
I always take it very seriously, but also my heart bursts into 1,000 petals every time somebody says to me, I love being in your home. I love being in your space. And for me, it's one of those sort of, validations that I don't really need, but they're wonderful, that what I'm doing and what I'm creating is real.
Yes.
It's just in my mind. It's not just woohoo business. It's real and it's tangible and people are feeling it. And in every single house that I've left, I've had the homeowner contact me and be like, you left the house. What did you do to it? Because it still feels like amazing. And what incense do you use? Or like, what did you put in the house to make it feel like this?
Me. I put me in the house.
I'm like, you can try, but I think it's like, people can feel it once all my stuff is out of there.
Yeah. It's you. And it's it's you and I've had this conversation before about, people who walk into a store and you're very aware of the negative energy. They haven't said a thing, right?
In restaurants, it's really easy to see those people in restaurants.
Yeah. And to feel it, right? You can feel it from the server when they walk up. In an instant, you can feel it, right? So people, what you're doing is bringing in to their home the years and years and years of work that you've done on yourself to bloom, right?
It's being the example.
Yeah. So it's not tangible in terms of, oh, this is what you do.
Yeah,
you light
the bottle.
candle,
I bought it on Amazon.
Right. Turn around 3 times and clap. That's not it. What's it is this sense of that person was so comfortable with themselves. There was a confidence and a gentleness, a harmony. That's why I say the messenger is the message. You can't teach people, you show them, right?
You have to show them. Yeah. And we have to allow people to show us who they are and accept that's the show.
That's exactly right. We can't impose upon them who we are, what we've become, unless they ask it for it. If they ask for it, then you're suddenly the teacher. But if they don't ask for it, you can't, bombard them with information that they're not ready to hear and haven't asked for. But
I have such a good topic for our next chat.
Have we run out of time?
We've got a couple minutes left, but I'm going to write it down for our next chat.
Yeah. Well, I love talking with you.
I love talking with you, and I'm so glad that we got to chat today.
Me
I was
too.
thinking of you yesterday and this morning.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that I got home in time to do this. I got a couple people lining up for future talks with us.
Amazing. I think we have July 11th. We have a talk, a guest.
Yeah. I've got another person I'm trying to schedule. So we'll have fun with that.
We
And
will
if we
have
have no
fun.
one, we have fun with each other, don't we?
Always, always. Love you
All right.
dearly. Have a wonderful week and sending you a massive hug.
A massive hug to you too, darling. Love you.
Lots of love. Bye.
Bye-bye.